If your child told you that she could see relatives who had already passed away, would you believe her? Maybe you would think it was just a child's imagination or some unclear dream. But in this story, this little girl truly had a special ability. She could see all the forgotten sorrow in the world, and she used her short life to complete a gentle act of redemption. The 5-year-old girl, Lucy, pointed into the distance and told her father that she could see her grandfather, who had already died. Her strange reaction made her father both helpless and heartbroken, but he gently told her that her grandfather had passed away last year. What her father didn't know was that in a dimension they couldn't see, death had not truly taken away the people she loved. Back in her room, her mother checked her temperature again. The fever still hadn't gone down. They decided to take her to the doctor at dawn, even though she was sick. Lucy was fixated on one thing. She wanted to finish her own book before Christmas arrived. In that book, she wrote about God and about a sad man who kept appearing in her dreams. Lucy excitedly marked the Christmas countdown on a small blackboard, but no one knew that those numbers would become a silent countdown to her own life. The next morning, her parents took her to the hospital. That Lucy didn't just have a simple cold, she had pneumonia. If it wasn't treated in time, it could become very serious. The doctor warned them repeatedly that if her condition didn't improve or got worse after medication, they must bring her back immediately for hospitalization. But once they returned home, Lucy refused to take her medicine because of its strong smell. No matter how her father tried to persuade her, it didn't work, just as they were at a stalemate. The grandfather suddenly laughed. He told Lucy that her father had been just like her as a child, and also refused to take medicine when he was sick. In the days that followed, with her grandfather's gentle companionship and encouragement, Lucy finally stopped resisting and began taking her medicine obediently. But her condition didn't improve. Instead, it kept getting worse. Her parents rushed her back to the hospital overnight, and the worst fear finally came true. The doctor told them in a heavy voice that Lucy's pneumonia had worsened significantly, and she needed immediate hospitalization. Even while confined to a hospital bed, Lucy never put down her pen. She insisted on finishing her unfinished book before Christmas, because the night before, she had dreamed again of the sad man. The next day, during a checkup, Lucy met a man in a wheelchair. Just one glance was enough. She recognized him immediately. She said he was the sad man from her dreams. Her father instinctively denied it, because in his eyes, a sad man from a dream didn't match a prisoner in handcuffs at all, even though he denied it. He couldn't stop worrying. He asked the nurse about the man. It turned out the man was a convicted prisoner with kidney failure, so sick that he could barely move on his own, and guards stood outside his room 24 hours a day. After hearing this, the father finally felt a little relief. Soon after, the attending doctor approached the couple with a serious expression and gave them the worst possible news. Their daughter might die. Those words hit like a hammer, shattering everything the father had been holding together. Lucy's condition kept worsening day by day. At the other end of the hospital, the prisoner was also struggling through his pain. Every day, he stared at a photo of his family, the only reason he still held on to life. But even that small hope was about to be taken away. A guard forced Edgar to hand over the photo, claiming prisoners were not allowed to keep contraband items. Unlike the broken Edgar, Lucy's hospital room was filled with warmth, but her heart kept thinking about the sad man. So one night, after her father fell asleep, Lucy quietly opened her eyes. She looked toward her grandfather guarding the door and slowly slipped out of the room. The grandfather gave her an encouraging look and then pulled the fire alarm. While the guards rushed toward the alarm, Lucy slipped into Edgar's room. Edgar, already hopeless, told her to leave, but Lucy wasn't discouraged. She looked up and told him seriously that she had seen him many times in her dreams, and she just wanted to be his friend. Edgar said he didn't want any friends. Their conversation caught the attention of the guards outside. Just before the door opened, Lucy hid in the bathroom. Taking advantage of the distraction, she slipped out again. That brief and unexpected encounter became a small seed buried deep inside Edgar's cold heart. In the days that followed, Lucy erased one number from her blackboard each day, and her breathing became more and more strained. The doctor's brow grew tighter and tighter. Even with the strongest new medication, the aggressive bacteria continued destroying her tiny lungs. But pain didn't make Lucy lose hope. On her way to another checkup, she bravely greeted the imprisoned man again. Lucy said she had pneumonia. The man told her that his kidneys were failing, and he needed a transplant to survive. Lucy then innocently asked her father if she had kidneys too, and said she could give one of hers to the man. Her words gave her father a shock. He tried to tell her that the man didn't deserve sympathy and wasn't a good person. But 5-year-old Lucy had the purest kind of stubbornness. In her world, anyone who was hurt deserved care, and anyone who cried deserved a hug. At night, when everyone fell asleep, Lucy began her little adventure again. She crossed the hospital boundaries and slipped into Edgar's room once more, but this time, The sad man didn't chase her away. Maybe he was moved by her endless warmth, or maybe he was simply too lonely. Hearing her soft voice of concern, the corners of Edgar's cold face slowly softened into a faint smile. Edgar confessed that he had done terrible things, and his family no longer spoke to him. Lucy encouraged him to apologize to them, saying they might forgive him. Edgar didn't believe it after so long, but Lucy firmly said that if he believed it, they would forgive him. In the days that followed, Lucy's nighttime visits became a warm light in Edgar's dull and hopeless life. At that moment, he was no longer a despised criminal. He was just a man longing for forgiveness. Christmas Eve was approaching. Lucy saw familiar faces in the hallway, Edgar's family from the photo. When his wife and daughter opened the door, the man who had always pretended to be unbreakable broke down in tears. All the regret and pain he had buried turned into a humble apology. In her hospital bed, Lucy seemed to sense something. She handed a note to the doctor. It read,
"I want to donate one of my kidneys to my friend Edgar." The handwriting was childish.
but the intention was firm. This gift beyond life and death deeply moved the doctors. But Lucy was still too young, so the decision had to be approved by her parents. She begged her father to agree. When he asked why she insisted, she said she didn't want Edgar to die. She looked at him with pleading eyes. Her father's vision blurred with tears, and in the end, he gave in. On Christmas night, Lucy finally finished her book. She wanted to personally give it to Edgar, but her weak body could no longer walk on its own, so she asked her father to go with her. With her last strength, she marked the final dot on the Christmas countdown board. At Edgar's room, the father was confused about how she had managed to sneak in before. Lucy pointed to the alarm button in the corner and said her grandfather always triggered it. Just then, the alarm went off again. Using that brief moment, the father carried Lucy into the room. Lucy placed the warm book into Edgar's hands. Seeing their gentle connection, the father's prejudice completely melted away, but suddenly, Lucy's breathing became rapid. They had to end the visit quickly. As they left, Lucy noticed a key left on a chair by the guard. She went back one more time and placed it into Edgar's hand. It was the key to freedom, and that became their final meeting. Lucy's condition rapidly worsened. Death felt closer than ever. With trembling strength, she wiped away her father's tear. At the same time, Edgar opened the book she had given him. The innocent drawings and pure affection inside gripped his heart like a force he couldn't escape. Driven by some deep instinct, he broke free from his handcuffs. Sand ran toward Lucy's room, but he was too late. The father stood in the hallway, broken and hollow, and in his grief, he seemed to see a little angel with wings and the grandfather standing nearby. They took Lucy's hand and walked into a peaceful light together. Edgar, once completely lost, not only received a healthy kidney, but also had his sentence reduced for good behavior. He returned to his wife and daughter. Every Christmas, they opened Lucy's book and filled the blank pages with their new life. Lucy's parents later had a baby boy. In the end, we are all a little like Lucy. We whisper wishes into the dark when life feels unbearable, hoping someone hears us. But life doesn't always send miracles. Sometimes it sends ordinary people instead, quietly loving us in imperfect ways. We spend our lives meeting and saying goodbye, and even when the world feels loud and unfair, there are always people who try their best to hold us together when we are falling apart.